while it's back. Customer is claiming that he's having a, well, not claiming, he sent me a picture of small puddles at the front of the car, very small, sort of that sort of size. Takes a day to build up, so we need to check it over and see what's going on. Is it oil leak, is it coolant leak? We're not sure yet. Need to get her up on the lift and have a little look see. So this one's not a warranty claim. I sold this car a year ago. It's a Mito with a 1.3 diesel in. We did put a new DPF on it, we put new injectors in it, spent quite a lot of money getting this one ready for sale, and it's been 100% reliable for the guy, but it's just gone in for its MOT and it's failed on emissions. We told the chap to go and get a TerraClean done on it, because in the past that's helped, but the TerraClean actually seems to have made it worse. So comment below if you mechanical guys, you people have had any experience with that before. It's actually made it worse, so it still wouldn't pass on the emissions. So we said the next best thing was put some additive in, get the car hot and try and clean it out. He wasn't confident doing that, so I know it's a year on, and again some of you guys are going to be saying I'm too soft, but I said look, I'll help you out. I'll put the additive in, I'll drive it, I'll get it hot for you. So I took it last night, I put the additive in, I put some super diesel in, I got it nice and hot, I ran and drove it hard, because he literally only does, his journey to work is, I think it's about half a mile or something like that, and I did say to him when we sold it to him, you're going to have to do long runs in it once a month to keep it clean, but I have to be honest, I don't think he's done that. And I did say don't use supermarket fuel, they don't like supermarket fuel. I think he's done that as well. But I want to help the guy out. I want to try and get it through this MOT for him, because it actually failed on nothing else. So we obviously sold a decent car on that front, because it failed for nothing else at all. He's not had to put any money into it, it's only the emissions, and we put it through an MOT when we put the new DPF on, when we put the new injectors in, and it went straight through its MOT with no emissions problems at all. So not sure what's going on with that. Again, any top tips below, welcome. The Rally, so she is running like a bag of spanners. I don't know what's happened with her at all. She was running okay. I did that big clean up on her, went to take her home, and now when she gets the slightest bit warm, she wants to cut out every single junction, wants to cut out, and when you accelerate you get quite a big jerk before she takes off. Once the revs are going, she's flying, but she's unhappy about something. The only thing we did was adjust that throttle cable and put a can of fuel in. I don't know what's going on. I have ordered a water temperature sensor, what is it, an air mass flow meter, sensor. I tell you guys, I'm not a mechanic, I forget what the parts are now that I've ordered, but yeah, something to do with the sensor on the throttle body. Ordered one of those, ordered the temp sensor. And have you experienced this with the little 106s? I know this is the 1300, but the engine's basically the same as all the others, isn't it? Just bored out differently. So yeah, cuts out at junctions, cuts out when you slow to if you catch up with traffic and they're slowing down for corners, like severe corners, and you're having to drop down to first, it wants to cut out there as well. And it jerks when you go between the gears, initially take off, like it almost cuts out completely at the point that you aren't accelerating and you're dipping the clutch to change gears, cuts out then, but then once it's running it takes off like a rocket. It's a shame because the sun's out now and I want to get out enjoying this. I'm hoping those parts work. Got my first warranty claim on Hyundai. A lot of you guys say to me about you want to flip cars and say which is the best cars to be doing. These Hyundais, I have to say, touch wood, this is the first warranty claim I've had off a Hyundai. As a general rule, they're pretty damn bulletproof. The warranty claim is that the headlight adjustment motor is gone, so I do have a replacement headlight, but I'm going to have to get the bumper off to do that. She's had the car for 2.5 months now, I think, something like that. It's a 2013, so again, it's that age where, as a general rule, again, touch wood, 2013 onwards, you don't tend to get problem with the cars. It's got low mileage, I think it's only got 40,000 miles on it, but these little i10s with the chain-driven 1.2 in them, again, they just tend to be pretty bulletproof. So if you're looking for your first flips, a little Hyundai, maybe a i10 or an i30 with a good service history, sort of 2010 or newer, you won't go far wrong with them. There's always a market for them. People always want cheap little runarounds. Hyundais do now have a good reputation for reliability as well. You can get them in that sub 3,000 category in terms of, you can pick them up for say 1,500 quid, you can retail them for 2,995, make some great little retail cars. So yeah, that'd be my top tip. A little i10, an i20, get one with a good history on it, ideally sub 100,000 miles, ideally 2000 and I'd say 2011 or newer, really 2010 or newer definitely, and then you should be able to get well within that sub 3k market, which is always a market for cars there. Between waiting for things to dry on the Ford Ka, I thought I'd hop on the Suzuki Alto because the 2 new impact sensors had arrived. So if you remember, I had this airbag light was on it, it needed to go in for an MOT, the airbag light was on it, ran the codes for it, it said the 2 side impact sensors were bad, so I've got some new ones which I've now plugged in, and I'm happy to say after running the codes again, we've got no airbag light, so we can get cracking on this. This one, if you remember, I got some custom paint made up to try and blend in these rear bumpers a bit better, because they're very red compared to the orange of the rest of the car. Really at this price point this car is going to be about $19.95. I probably shouldn't be doing it, but I've already spent 50 quid on paint now, so, and they've custom matched it for me, so may as well use it. I'm interested as much as anything to see how close they got with their custom match, I guess. So it's here, might as well use it, just the front and rear bumpers, get it in for an MOT, and then put her up as a nice little cheapy runabout. Sounds sweet enough. I've got a run in. Little 3-cylinder. Sounds sweet enough. Sitting there like a little sewing machine, so that side of things, touch wood, looks good. But obviously we don't know what else the MOT might throw up. But this is the one I think I won for £600 tonight, after fees and getting it here and everything else. I think I'm probably in at about £900, something like that, so never going to be a big money maker, but nice little cheap run around for someone. So I've finished my buffing now. To recap on what the process was with these, first of all we 800 grit with a Scotch pad the panels, then we panel wiped them, then we did a very light dust coat to give a grabby surface, and then a medium coat, and then a couple of heavier coats. And it did leave us with orange peel because I did it outside yesterday and there was a bit of wind, and the trouble is what happens then is as you're painting like this, the paint is atomizing and blowing away and you're not really getting a flow coat onto the panel, so that is one of the challenges. But it was so nice yesterday, I wanted to work outside, so there is orange peel in it. but I think overall, for a car that's going to be £2,000, it's entirely acceptable. A big shout out to the Marlowe boys for who did that match with the paint. It's not 100%, but it's a million times better than that red that it was before. And I want to buff the other panels up, but it's a lot closer, and again perfectly acceptable for the age. A big shout out to the Marlowe boys for mixing that by eye basically. Yeah, so you can get a smoother coat and have to do less flatting back. Sorry, the final stage I used, I forgot to say, was 3000 compound, Farcella 3000 compound on the firm sponge head. And basically what I'm doing there is trying to knock the top off of my orange peel and give a smoother surface. So like I say, I don't recommend painting panels this big with rattle cans. I would actually recommend using a full-size gun, because you'll get a lot smoother finish straight out the gun. But unfortunately Stu was busy painting the car in the booth, so I had to revert to rattle cans because time is money, so I need to get this done as quickly as possible. It doesn't financially stack up to put these out to somebody to paint, because I probably would have been in it for at least £400, I would have thought, to do it. And this has cost me, what, 60 quid in rattle cans, I think. So, and I think, like I said, I think it's a perfectly acceptable finish. It's going to get another final lighter compound buff before it goes on, but we've got a good reflective surface. We've got a colour that matches the car better than it did before. So I think we'll call that happy. Like I say, again, happy. I know a lot of you on there are going to feel it's a bit of a bodge, and a lot of you painters are probably crying right now. I could have 1200 grit wet sanded it, and then 2000 grit wet sanded it, and then machine polished it, but I've taken up most of the day. I've got other things to be cracking on with. And again, like I say, the car's going to be probably 1995. So right, we'll bolt it back together and we'll give the rest of the car a clean, and then we'll do you a bit of a walk around picture on it. So loosely put it back on again. Now needs a mother of all cleanups to see how it goes. But like I say, I mean, I think, to be fair to the Marlowe boys, for what they were given, which was a faded car, and had to make up their own match, and one to match both ends of the car, because they're very slightly different colours front and back to this car. I think they haven't done a bad job at all. So there might be some final polishing I do to it, but yeah, we'll give it a good clean up, put everything back together, and then we've got to get her in for MOT. Right guys, I always show you when I make mess ups. I've merrily taken this headlight out, left the new one in the office while I was cracking on, took the old one out, took the bulbs out because you put new bulbs in, didn't want them transferred over, got it lined up, put it on, spot the mistake. We've got a pointed edge, we've got an angled upward edge, wrong headlight. Cinetic have sent it to me, says 2007, 2013, which this is. This headlight is a 2013 onwards, so they sent me the wrong light, but unfortunately I didn't look at it before I started, because obviously I didn't have the car with me when I ordered the light, and I've ordered it up, bung it in, it's wrong, so I've got to take it back out again and let the customer down. What a complete waste of time, and an idiot I am. So we've got the Dacia up on the ramp, and it's not an oil leak, it's a very small coolant leak. You can tell because when you taste it, it's sweet. It's coming off the very edge of the radiator there. It's only a very tiny amount. It must be when the car's parked up, the last few minutes after it's being driven, there's just enough pressure to put a couple of drops out on the ground. Which means new radiator, which means bumper back off again, because it is tight in there and it is fiddly. So radiator is going to cost about £100. So not outrageous, it's just the amount of time I'll lose, basically, you know, £250 to £500 from redoing this rather than prepping another car. So it's not just the cost of the parts, it's the labour you lose, because it's another day you can't generate money off something else. Now I can't remember if I put a warranty wise on this one or not. And if I have, I'm not sure it'll be valid, because it's within the I think it's within the first 30 days. I'll have to check when it first went out the door, and I don't even know if they cover radiators. So I'll double check on that. Obviously this is the time when I was putting warranty wires on cars. I think I did on this one, I'll double check, but I'll come back to you on that. Up on it yet, 'cause I thought I'd stick it straight in for the MOT first, so we'll see what happens with the MOT on that. Hopefully he doesn't need a lot, because wants to be a cheap car, that. But yeah, that colour match, pretty pleased with that. The Rally ran home fine after Stuart found, 3 of us over the engine bay yesterday, found that we'd knocked a sensor off of the throttle body. There was a lower down one that we there's one at the top, which you can see obviously if you're looking over the top of the car, but it's down at the back a bit. Knocked it off, plugged the sensor back in, runs like a champ. But if you were here now, you'd smell fuel quite badly, and we have a fuel leak on the fuel rail, so I've got to take that apart. I think it's an O-ring that needs replacing, but gave it the beans home last night. First time we're going to properly give it a go. I describe it basically as a Type R before Type R's, because it just wants to rev and rev. Peak torque is 5,500 revs, and peak power is 7,000 revs, so you just basically have to keep it absolutely on the boil, but limpet like handling even on crappy old tyres. So that's one of the next things to do. You all said about painting the wheels. That is the next thing, is paint the wheels, get some decent rubber on it. Got the decals, come in, put the decals on, and then just enjoy it before I then tear it apart, do all the suspension bushes, do all the shocks, paint the underside, paint all the subframes, everything like that, do all that mint, then top half, respray. Interior probably just to clean, because you can't really get hold of these fabrics that easily, and I've never seen anybody do that good a job of actually stitching them together. So yeah, that's all on the cards, but for the moment while the sun's out, let's get out and enjoy her.